Hello and welcome. I'm Laura Briggs with the Vegan Fitness Runner podcast, where I'll be talking all things running, health and fitness, and what it means to be an active vegan. My next guest on the Vegan Fitness Runner podcast is Paul Yound. At 86 years young, Paul discovered running in lockdown after deciding to learn a new skill. He reversed his arthritis by trying a vegan diet and then went on to become an animal welfare activist. He's now an ambassador for Running on Plants and regularly fundraises for vegan charity Viva. Paul, hello. Did you know you're one of my heroes?
Well, that's nice to hear, Laura. One of my aims is to inspire people, so...
Well, you do. You do it so well. And you do it on many levels. And from my perspective, not only because you're a vegan, which is a big tick, and you're a runner, but also the fact that you're 86 and you're still running and you're still moving and you're still really active. Can you tell me a little bit about what inspired you to be so motivational?
Well, first, let me just correct you for one thing. I'm not running at the moment. I broke my leg 2 years ago playing tag with my then 8-year-old grandson. And although the bone heals very quickly, the ligaments take quite a while. So my ligaments still aren't right. And I'm thinking of going to a physio and saying, will I ever run again or what? Because it's really annoying. I mean, I enjoy walking, don't get me wrong, and I do a fair bit. But yeah, so I'm walking at the moment, yeah.
But even that in itself, Paul, you just said to me, I'm not running at the moment. And I love that. Come on, I don't know any other 86-year-olds that would be like, oh, I've had a bit of a setback, I've broken my leg, but, I'm hoping to get back into running in the next few months or whatever it is. You're eternally optimistic about your level of activity, aren't you?
Well, I am. I've since coming on this journey, since becoming a runner. So I'll tell you how it all started, shall I? So we can go from there.
That would be brilliant. Please do.
Yeah, well, I tried to run in my 40s, and for about 6 weeks I ran, but my knees were so sore I gave it up and bought a bike. I knew I had to do something to keep it, so I bought a bike. And then 20 years later, when I went vegan, first of all, I avoided meat to avoid cow disease, so I gave up meat then, and then it took me 2 years for all the blinkers to come off when I found out the horrors of the dairy industry and the chicken industry, and I thought I can't be a part of this, and I gave it all up. It took me 2 years, but once I did, my arthritis disappeared, and my fingers, which were getting more and more twisted, I had osteoarthritis in my fingers, and my fingers were getting more gnarled each year, and I was getting more twisted. I can't make the fist properly. I couldn't shake hands, change gear, or hold a kettle, or pull up a duvet without pain. But once I went vegan, within a couple of months, the pain had gone. I didn't have arthritis anymore. It was remarkable. I went vegan for the animals, and my health improved. But I didn't think about going back to running until about 5 years ago. About 5 years ago, I was chasing my grandson around the dining room table. He was 5, and he could keep it up for ages. And I thought, hang on, my knees are not hurting. So when lockdown came, I thought I'll come out of it with a new skill, hopefully, and see if I can't join the local park run or something like that. That was the limit of my ambition at that stage. And so I measured a 20-yard track in my back garden and ran around that for 6 months. And it started on the 28th of March, and by about the beginning of June, I heard about the dire straits that sanctuaries were in. My friend Gil Broom is a very active volunteer at Dean Farm Trust Sanctuary, and I thought maybe I could raise some money by doing a 10K. An 83-year-old doing a 10K, pretty good. And but as I kept on training, I got closer to it. I thought, I can do more than that. So I challenged myself to do 10K every day for 10 days at the end of June. That was 90-odd days after I started. And I started on the 20th of June, the 21st of June. I thought, I'm going to get more tired as the week goes on. Inevitably, that's going to happen, but I'll just have to plough through. But I didn't. I got stronger. And I found I was able to do more. In the end, I did 110k in those 10 days, and raised some money did some fundraising for the sanctuary. And then I went online on Facebook, and there's a page called Athletic Vegans. And I said, how can I keep this level of fitness that I've got now? And so they said, well, do you look at ultramarathons? And I looked at the ultramarathon, my local one, coming from Minehead. I live in Taunton. It's only 30 miles from Minehead. And it was going from Minehead to Dawlish, 100k over Dunkery Beacon, the highest point on Exmoor. And I thought, oh, that looks terrific. It just looks right up my street. And I got my son to join me, and we set off on it was a year later in the August, was it, or late July. And then on that first day, I'll never forget it, they had a freak weather event. It was the height of summer, but they had this freak weather event, and the temperature plummeted. And the wind was whistling across, the rain was pouring down, there were thunderstorms around, and I was climbing this muddy, stony track, and I remember saying to Ben, my son, do you know what, Ben? There's nowhere else I'd rather be. I felt so alive.
Oh, how lovely.
I know. So anyway, we got to the first rest stop, and there were a lot of people pulled out through hypothermia, because they weren't geared up for it. They didn't have any shelter up there on the top of Dunker, because it was the height of summer. You didn't need all that. And in fact, I'm going round this next ultra plan. I'll tell you about that in a minute. With the couple that I met up there, and the wife had the woman had hypothermia, but she recovered from it and she was able to continue. But that day confirmed both me and my son. We became addicted to doing ultramarathons, and we've done it ever since.
It's quite a challenge doing an ultramarathon at any time of life. I mean, I'm gonna put my neck out here and say you have come to ultramarathon running pretty late in the day, would you say?
Yeah, you see, once I started doing these challenges, I started looking online for people who were doing similar things. A chap called Rich Roll. If you know him, he does these wonderful podcasts. He interviews all these people who run across America, and they do all sorts of athletic feats. And he interviewed a guy called David Goggins, who wrote a book called Can't Hurt Me. And he's full of inspirational quotes like, when you think you're absolutely done, you've got nothing left, you're absolutely spent, you only use 40% of your resources. And another one, be uncomfortable. Nothing happens in your comfort zone. Step outside of your comfort zone and more than that, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And these sort of quotes, and another one, we can all do much more than we think we can, much more than we think we can, and all these sorts of things. Well, I think, perhaps I can do that. I can do this. And the thought of doing ultramarathons and fundraising for Viva, an animal rights charity, the two things coincide. I love getting out on the trail, and I love the fact that I'm able to raise money by doing it. So it's a two-pronged thing, really.
Fantastic. It's just amazing. I love your attitude to this, because you do it because you love it, but you do it because you know that you're raising awareness as well. So kind of like you said, it's a win-win for you, isn't it? With the veganism, obviously you're just telling us there how it sounds a bit like a miracle, Paul, how, you had osteoarthritis, or you have osteoarthritis, and it kind of reversed the symptoms of that. Do you now find that you can do more because of your diet?
Oh yes, yeah. There's no doubt about that. I'll tell you a story. When I used to, I've been a teacher. When I retired at the age of 55, I did a teaching course, teaching adults so I could teach my hobby, which is bread making. And I was teaching in a session in a care home, and the new shift came on, and there was some undated chicken breasts in the fridge. I'd been vegan about 7 years at this stage, and they were going to throw it out because there's no date on it. And I thought, there's nothing wrong with those chicken breasts. My mantra then was, I don't want any animal to die so that I can live. So I ate a couple of those chicken breasts, and immediately a nodule on my thumb became red and sore and angry. and it took a few weeks for it to die back down again. So there's no doubt in my mind that it was the meat that was causing it, osteoarthritis.
Causing that inflammation almost.
Yeah, and if I hadn't have given up, if I hadn't have become vegan, I'm no doubt I'd be pushing a walking frame around now, no doubt. But that means I'm able to do all sorts of activities. It's just give me some
you must tell everybody about your press up challenge as well, because for me, this is the one that blows my mind, because I consider myself of a fairly reasonable fitness level, and you were telling me when we met at VegFest about your push up challenge, which you just need to tell everybody this, because it's mad.
Well, when I was 79. I used to play table tennis down the YMCA. I still play table tennis weekly. And the guy down there was telling me about this thing he heard about, this guy doing 1,000 press-ups in a day. And I thought, I wonder what because I was doing some home exercise. I was doing press-ups. I thought, I wonder how many I could do. Perhaps I could. And in the end, I raised a fundraising for the YM and also the homeless in Taunton, and by doing 1,000 press-ups in an hour. And I've sort of, I was coming up to 80, and I thought, how can I maintain this level of fitness? Why don't I challenge myself to do 1 million press-ups within the age of 80 and 90? So that's what I did. I thought 10,000 every month should give me a clearance, and I should get there relatively easy. I'm up to 691,000 at the moment. And the biggest
this is insane.
What's the reason, you see, Laura? I'm certain that's the reason that I dropped into running so well, because I was pretty fit to begin with. And all the ultra runners call it S&C, strength and conditioning. Doesn't matter what you do, weightlifting, press-ups, all sorts of bone exercise. As long as you do something, you're preparing yourself for getting out on the trail. And
a million press-ups in 10 years. 1 million. That's a big number.
Well, the thing is, last year I was, I caught cellulitis and COVID, and I was off. I couldn't do any press-ups for about 6 weeks, and so I thought I'm going to fall behind if I'm not careful. So at the beginning of this month, I thought I'll try and get ahead of myself a little. So first 3 days, I did it every day, first 3 days of February. And then I thought, hang on, I'm on a bit of a streak here. I'll see how long I can keep this going. And up to yesterday, I've done 18,000 press-ups this month.
That's just, you're putting me to shame. I feel a little bit embarrassed when I talk to you, because I feel so unworthy.
Once again, it comes back to that we can all do much more than we think we can.
We can, can't we? We can. I've got to say, though, I think you are pretty much game for any kind of challenge. I think if I challenged you to something, you'd be hard-pressed to say no. Am I right?
Well, I do. But the reason that I like the challenge is it keeps me on task. If I hadn't challenged myself to do it, I'd let it slip. I'm probably doing about 30 press-ups a week or something if I hadn't done that challenge to keep me motivated.
Which to most people is loads.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that since I've been doing these press-ups every day, I find myself walking down the canal path this morning, and I occasionally skip a bit because I feel so good, and I'll skip across the line to open the curtains in the morning. I'm just so full of energy. I really am.
I just love this. You hear so many people, Paul, and even, dare I say, that are reaching kind of mid-50s, 60s, and they start to say, oh, I'm getting old. Oh, I can't do as what I used to be able to do. I'm getting on a bit now. And I suppose I'm going to say that some people might use that as an excuse not to do as much.
Yeah, possibly.
Listening to you, that just isn't an option, is it?
No, it's not. I saw this. I follow Dr. Gregor, who does nutritionfacts.org, with his wonderful videos on nutrition and health. And he, on one of his videos, has said about how when you get older, you automatically you lose muscle. But I thought, hang on, if you keep exercise and you won't lose muscle. And that's sort of motivated me. I want to be able to pick up my great-grandchildren. They're not around yet, but when they do come, I want to be able to pick them up and throw them around a bit, you know.
Oh, there's no better motivation, is there?
Well, indeed.
And they will look at you. You know, that's what's lovely is your son, obviously, and your grandchildren. They all see you so fit and active that they probably have no doubt in their minds that they're going to be fit and active.
Yeah, indeed.
At the same age as you.
The last event I did was a half marathon around London at the end of January with my two granddaughters, 20 and 22. And one of their boyfriends. We went down London together. It was just a wonderful day. And one of the nice things, my Olivia, the 20-year-old, she said, I signed up for it, Grandad. She said, and I ticked the vegan box on it.
Oh, brilliant! Which is must have made you really happy.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I told them long ago if ever they go to a fast food restaurant and they choose the plant burger or whatever, I'll pop £5 in their bank account.
So I'm not advocating bribery here, but it clearly works in this instance. You do so much for the animals. You know, we're talking very heavily here about your fitness levels, which are just phenomenal. There's no two ways about it. But the underlying drive for you, Paul, has always been the animals, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. They get such a raw deal with.
You said it took you, when you first went vegan, kind of 2 years to see the real horrors behind the industry. What was it, do you think, that really kind of shaped the future of your vegan journey? Like, what was there a pivotal moment where you saw there's no way I can carry on?
It built up through the I suppose through the 10s and 2017, 2018, 2019, and I was watching all these videos from James Aspey and Joey Carbstone, and they were getting out there and showing people how you should go vegan. And then I read about Anonymous for the Voiceless, but there's nothing happening in Taunton until suddenly my friend became a friend. Steve Clark started Anonymous for the Voiceless in Taunton in 2018. And I went and joined him. So I've been an activist ever since then. And I went to, I didn't become fully vegan, I'll level with here until I was in. We went to Bath, which is an hour's train ride from Taunton, for an event, a cube, and there was a veg fest on at the time in Bath, and I was walking around there, and there's a guy selling faux leather belts and watch and all sorts of stuff, and I thought, hang on a minute, I'm carrying around a leather wallet here, I've got a leather belt on. So they went, and I got some stuff that wasn't leather, and then I realised that I'm vegan now, but until then I wasn't quite. And then I've just got active whenever anybody's got a cube or lately it's what the free. I'm going to one this Friday down in Exeter, an event, so I can be active for the animals. So the last 5 years, 6 years, I suppose, I've become active for the animals. And I tell people now it's the default position. It's not good just being vegan. Just being vegan is just like not being a racist. The default position is to be an animal rights activist and speak up on. Yeah.
But what's kind of, I suppose, more impressive and more helpful for the animals is that you're so relatable. You are coming at this as. Previously, you just said, you weren't a vegan. And when you went vegan, you were still wearing a leather belt or a leather shoes. And it's really important for me, I think, to remember that, this is a process. And it's very easy to kind of berate people and say, oh, you're not a proper vegan because, you still do this or you still do that. And it's for then that person to say, oh, do you know what? I hadn't even thought of that. But, now you've said it, I'm going to go away and think about it. And it's that journey, isn't it? So that makes it easier for people to make those changes. I think when we're not kind of ramming it down their throats, but we are helping them see a solution.
When I'm doing my outreach, one of the things I try and hold at the forefront of my mind is I used to be that guy. I used to be the guy who ate meat. I used to love meat and all the rest of it, cheese and that, until I saw the light. So I was the person that I'm speaking to,
Do you think, Paul, as well, that all your challenges and your fitness levels and the fact that you can maybe not run at the moment, but walk an ultra, or, you can do a million press-ups by the time you're 90, all these things make other people look at you and think, God, if becoming vegan means that I can manage those challenges, then that's a great reason to try it, isn't it?
Well, I think so, yeah. And I tell my young friends, I've got these wonderful young friends, animal rights activists, all the way from Plymouth, Barnstaple, right up to Chippenham or Swindon, all over the southwest. I've got these lovely young friends, and I call them my second family. And I sometimes I say, you're looking at me, you're looking at your future. This could be you when you get to my age. If you do the right thing with nutrition and the animals, you could be doing the service. But I don't think I'm anything special. Perhaps the only thing that I've got that other people don't have, to a larger degree, is determination.
You definitely have that. I'll give you that. You definitely have determination, but it's wonderful to actually see you in action as well. I've met you. We were at Veg Fest, and you're so passionate now about your cause, which is, it kind of just seeps out of you. This absolute passion for the animals, love for the animals, and this is what you truly believe, and it's contagious. It's wonderful to see it in real life.
Well, I want to show people you can be fit and healthy as a vegan into old age, should I ever get there. That's my aim.
It's marvellous. Do you find, with your stance and with your activism, do you come up against much opposition, Paul?
Yeah, with family and friends, yeah. My wife isn't vegan. She says she'll never go vegan, and then she's a work in progress. She does eat mostly vegan stuff because I do most of the cooking. But if I'm away for the weekend, she'll have no hesitation about getting some eggs and cheese and that, whatever, if I'm not around. So that's a disappointment. And I've got a whole group of friends of my demographic, my age group, and only two of them have actually gone vegan. Several others are, before I'm going to say they were, but they're drinking oat milk or whatever milk, they don't get dairy. So they're giving it up slowly.
That in itself, though, you say only two of my friends. That's two more than, would have happened if you hadn't said anything.
Well, indeed, yeah. So
you've got to take it as little wins.
Well, and one of them is single, but the other's married, and his wife is vegan as well. I think his kids are vegan. So there's a sort of a ripple effect, if you like.
Yeah. Do you think you said about, in my demographic, two of my friends have gone vegan. Within your demographic, I'm guessing that you, certainly way more than me, have been conditioned, not you, individually, but you as a generation, have been conditioned that meat is the right thing to eat. Dairy is the right thing to eat and drink.
Yeah.
More than I would have been.
Perhaps, yeah. It's always been at the forefront. It's always at the centerpiece of any celebration, isn't it? Instantly. But there's so many alternatives now, choices that you couldn't have imagined 5 years ago.
No, that's so true. That's so true. It's much. It's not difficult to be a vegan. in my opinion now.
And I think, I tell people it's cheap. You know, if you want to save money, go vegan and eat whole foods. I mean, I call red lentils, I call them a vegan's fast food. But you have to prepare to you'll be eating it within 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many. I think, a lot of people could be quite blinkered and they just see vegan food as, really quite basic salads and, or the unhealthy processed stuff. But it's not the case, is it? You can really make absolutely delicious vegan food, and it's far more exciting, in my opinion, than, meat and two veg.
Your horizons expand.
Yeah.
When you start cooking vegan stuff, yeah.
So listen, you're doing a challenge that you just signed up to, you're telling me, in support of Viva. So what's the next thing on the cards?
That's the loop around Windsor at Easter on the 6th of April. And the next one after that is a 50k loop around Guildford on the Wolf Downs. And then in September, beginning of September, there's a 100k walk along the Thames from Putney Bridge to Henley. I tried it 2 years ago, and I got as far as me and my son. We were going to do it continuous, and we did the first 50k in 10 hours, including stops, which I thought was really good. So we thought if we push on and do the next 50 in 4 kilometres an hour, we should get there before 24 hours is up, which is obviously a nice target. But that meant we hurried through the dark and I fell over. I tripped on a a malignant root that stuck it.
Oh, no. This is the trouble, isn't it, with these long distance challenges?
So I did the 8K and fell over. And when I started, I mean, I got a scalp wound. It's quite... it was just a minor injury, but I felt a bit dizzy when I stood up. And I thought about a day. So we staggered on to the next stop. So the 61k remained my longest continuous walk.
That's still amazing. Best to be safe than sorry, right?
Indeed, yeah. So we're signed up again to do the same thing again in September. Me and my son, and we'll do it. We'll take it easy. We won't worry about the time. We'll just take it easy.
No, quite right. Do you find that having things in the diary to kind of look forward to or to train for really helps you with your motivation?
Oh, indeed, yeah. At the moment, I think I'm about 3/4 or a bit more of the way from Land's End to John O'Groats on a virtual walk.
Brilliant.
And I signed up for that last year sometime. And I should finish that sometime in March.
Wow.
But that sort of thing, you think, hang on a minute, I've got to get out there and get the miles in. Got to get my feet on the ground and get walking, because that's the target. You've got to do this.
Yeah, so it pushes you forward.
Yeah, in between the real ones, the actual ultras, I have these virtual ultras. So altogether, I've done 12 events so far, and I aim to do 100. Once again, I got a target. So you won't be surprised to say I want to do 100 ultramarathons or equivalent before my 100th birthday.
I am not surprised to hear this at all. and I've no doubt that you'll achieve it.
Well, if I do 6 a year, 3 actual ones and 3 virtual ones, I should get there.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Do you get a lot of support from your family? You said that your son obviously has done these events with you, and you run with your grandchildren.
Yeah,
so that must be really great.
Yeah, they're all supportive. Yeah, they all like to see. And I'm hopeful that my 2 granddaughters they might join me on something more than a half marathon. Perhaps a 50k along the Thames or something like that. I'll be putting some feelers out to see if I can persuade them to join me.
I imagine a bit of bribery somewhere along the line, Paul, should work with them. If you can get them to eat a plant burger and give them a £5, then there's some way here to making them run an ultra, I'm sure.
Well, they're lovely kids. I'm so lucky.
Oh, it's really nice. What would you say to someone, Paul, who's looking at you now and thinking, oh my goodness, right, if he can do it, I can do it. Where do I start, I suppose, would be the question.
Well, I think one of the places to start would be with Rich Roll on his podcast and some of the inspirational people that he interviews. And I will listen to that and say, well, perhaps I can do something like that. And
well, here you are being just as inspirational, I would say, Paul.
Well, hopefully, Laura, hopefully. But yeah, and there's, I mean, if for a very beginner, it counts to 5K. Why not?
Well, we should quickly mention, shouldn't we, the Running on Plants 5K challenge in June at this conjecture, because you are obviously an ambassador for Running on Plants as well, aren't you? So we'll get that in there.
Tom was very kind enough to ask me to be an ambassador, and I'm very glad to, very grateful to be asked and honoured. And so anything I can do to spread the word. Anything I can do just to spread the word of veganism, the plant-based and not harming animals is the correct thing to do. And I'm up for it.
I think you're doing a great job at spreading the message as well. Do you think as a whole vegans have got it right in the way that we're trying to spread the word as such? Feels a bit like a religion when I say it like that, doesn't it? Well, you know what I mean? Do you think we're going at it the right way?
I think there's many different ways you can go about it, but as long as you're doing something. I think there's obviously lots of controversy within the vegan movement itself, but I think we should put on a united front to the rest of the world and say, look, we're in this for the animals, nothing else. It doesn't matter about your health or your or the planet. Well, it does matter about the planet. That's the other thing. We should mention the fact that being vegan is the best thing they can do for the planet.
Yeah, I mean that's probably another reason why we're seeing a little bit of an uptick in veganism, because of the issues around climate change, and that in turn, I suppose, I think, Paul, you said first of all you kind of go vegan perhaps for your health, or maybe you first go vegan for the planet, or maybe you first go vegan for the animals. But whichever route you take, it all comes back to you then realise the suffering that the animals are going through, and you realise that why the hell were you doing it in the first place, don't you? I think that's the general gist I get from everyone I've spoken to who has gone plant-based.
I had no idea the harm I was causing. One of my drivers to keep being active and speaking out on behalf of the animals is the fact that for 65 years I was an animal abuser. Now I have that to try and, in some small way, make up for.
Yeah, and we kind of say we're doing it unwittingly, and I think it's more the case that we don't want to know in a lot of cases. Obviously, industry is there to pull the wool, excuse the pun, the metaphor, pull the wool over our eyes with it, and to try and tell us that we need to be eating more meat, and that everything is done humanely, or dairy is good for us. And these are the messages that you just kind of that are rammed down our throats, and then you have to do a bit of digging to get to the truth. But I think once you've seen it, or once you've found a little bit, scratched under the surface a little, it's very hard to unsee that, isn't it?
And people will avoid looking at things because they know that if they do look at it, something might have to change.
Yes, I guess a level of guilt, maybe.
Well, yeah. I mean, what was his name? Cosmic Skeptic, who's now lapsed on his veganism, but he said that he avoided reading Animal Liberation by Peter Singer because he knew it would make him change his mind, and for long enough he didn't read it. Well, once he did, then he tried to find an argument against veganism, and he couldn't find one, and he had to go vegan by his ethics.
Wow.
And then, of course, he's relapsed since, but he did come out with some sensible stuff in the beginning. He really did. And the other thing is, what did Michael Clapper, Dr. Michael Clapper said, people love to hear good things about their bad habits. So if you read in the paper that butter's good for you, or you can eat all the fat.
Oh, you jump on it, don't you? Yes, classic Daily Mail fodder.
Confirms your the desire to eat the stuff.
Yeah, they try and make us feel good about doing, exactly that, the things that are bad for us, so that we then don't worry so much about it. It can be quite challenged, can't it? Choosing to be vegan. It's not always easy. Obviously you've just said about your wife said to you that she's not interested in going vegan, but you've also said about, opposition that you come up against, and you've got to be, I've spoken to a few people on this podcast, and many of them have said, you need quite thick skin, actually. It's not always an easy ride, is it?
It's not. No, you're stepping outside the norm. I hesitate to big myself up, but it takes a certain amount of courage to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to join the herd. I'm going to think for myself and do what I know is right. And
do you think
the ultimate is this guy in Russia who's just been killed?
Oh gosh, now you're going to make me say a Russian name that I can't pronounce. Novelsky, something like that.
Yeah, but what a brave guy. But yeah, you've got to.
Yeah.
And it's all these people with these quotes. Martin Luther King said, "To do nothing is to be on the side of the oppressor."
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. Take these things on board, and you think, well, yeah, you've got to do something.
It always kind of gets me the way meat eaters, and I'm not, this is not a broad brush. A few meat eaters will really have it in for vegans. It's like a trigger, isn't it? Like they just can't help themselves. A lot of trolling on the internet. A lot of just general bad mouthing, calling them stupid. We've all heard all the jokes about veganism. My goodness, there's plenty of them out there, and we're happy to laugh at most of them. But there are people who really have it in for us. What do you think it is that makes them so angry?
I've heard recently, I think I saw it on Twitter or somewhere, that there's a huge building somewhere in the American Midwest full of people online searching for people talking about veganism and trying to persuade people not to eat meat. And they're out there persuading people that, you should eat meat, it's good for you. And there's hundreds of people being paid just to do that. So I believe.
So it's politically motivated once again then?
Well,
you feel like it's a political machine.
It comes back to the money, doesn't it?
Isn't that sad?
It is sad. It's very sad. And one of the things that I'm hopeful about is that the manufactured meats that are coming online and becoming more and more available and cheaper. Once they become cheaper than the stuff you get from an animal, I think it's going to be game over. If McDonald's sells their meat at, say, 90% of the price they're paying now, but it's not going to be for an animal, they'll do it. They don't care. They'll get the cheapest they can find, and that will drive the change eventually. But in the meantime, we've got to keep trying to change hearts and minds.
Oh yes, it's it is a lifelong kind of battle, really, isn't it? Battles maybe is too strong a word, but you know what I mean. That's once you've made that decision. Yeah, and it does take a lot. And I think to watch somebody like yourself, who is, just so passionate about it and doing such great things. And I'm going to say it at your ripe age, because it's incredible that you're in your 80s and you're achieving all these amazing things. And as a vegan.
There's a guy called Mike Fremont. Have you heard of him?
I have heard of Mike Fremont, yes.
He's 102 years old. He's a vegan. He goes canoeing. He goes running regularly, and he does 25 pull-ups every day. So
he's amazing too. But you live closer to me, so.
but he's my hero.
Oh, and that's lovely. And it's lovely that you've got a hero that's relatable as well.
Indeed, yeah.
You can do those things, can't you, yourself?
That's right. There's no reason why, if he can do it, why I can't.
Yeah.
I don't have any excuses, do I, Laura?
You don't. And I bet you, like, by the end of this call, you'll have had, another 10 challenges spring into your mind that you'll be doing next time we catch up. I think you're amazing, and you are absolutely one of my heroes, Paul. I think you inspire people, and you will continue to do so with your amazing challenges. It's fabulous to talk to you today.
Life's an adventure. I intend to live it every day.
That's just the loveliest thing to hear, and I hope you enjoy every step of your adventure, Paul. And no doubt we will catch up very soon and have another lovely chat.
Lovely talking to you. Thank you for the opportunity.
You take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye then.
Thanks so much for listening, and don't forget to leave a review for the Vegan Fitness Runner podcast. Please subscribe if you don't want to miss an episode, and remember you can find out more about all my guests and further information on all the topics covered over on the website veganfitnessrunner.com. Thanks again, and bye for now.